Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. These are unfortunate circumstances. We know that. Naren was very near and dear to all of us. Uh, I'm a little overwhelmed with the Ash. May I request you to speak?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to speak about Naren's early life, the portion that many of you don't know. Uh, Naren was born in a small town in Panipat, 50 miles from Delhi. And in our family, he was the first to go to college. Both my parents had not gone to college. And they lived in early life in a small apartment in Sabzi Mandi in Old Delhi. And eventually we lived in Lodi Colony in a one-bedroom apartment. And this 2021 was my parents' 100th anniversary, and I asked Naren how he felt about living his early life, and he said he was always born with privilege. And people asked him, what privilege? And he said that my dad had a very unitary view of the world, and he believed that education was the only mechanism for people to move forward. But our mom had her view where she said talent and resources carried zero weight. And instead, if you are moral, if you're curious, if you're respectful, and if you give an extra effort to things when everybody else was tired, life would be just fine. And then he got married to Vinita. And years later, in the marriage to Vinita, who is probably even more disciplined and has more resolve than Naren, just strengthened Naren in the views that my parents had held. When he was in IIT, he saw IIT as a true haven for him. He met giants. He would speak of Professor Dogra as a visionary, but also the person who gave it all for the good of the institution. IIT Delhi built toughness in him, and it built confidence in him to excel amid a very tough competition. IIT also said later on in life, he would say that IIT taught him that becoming the best version of yourself is not enough. You must strive to be the best, period. IIT also turned him into an open book where he started realizing that sharing your knowledge, sharing your wisdom with others, and helping others grow in addition to you was the best way to promote knowledge in this world. And he learned the aspect of giving as part of being in IIT. And finally, probably very important to Naren, that IIT taught him how to play bridge. He met with people of like mind who played like him. For our family, Naren made our life privilege. He would listen with open mind when we challenged his most sacred beliefs, and he would not get angry about it. He would be passionate about it. He would speak with pride about Vinita and about his daughters. Till the last day he lived, he remained authentic and pure and energized in how he spoke. And everybody in our family followed him like the way you follow Pied Piper. For me personally, Naren and I spoke every day. He would always answer the phone. He would always say, I'm not busy. I have infinite time. He was always very protective of me. He taught me expert chess. He taught me to come to USA. He paid for my education. He pushed me around in everything I did. And I see that as an example for me. But that was his example with just many, many, many people that he came into life. Naren spent a lot of his life in promoting education, in promoting advancement for women, in serving just common people across multiple institutions. And the number of those examples are many, and I'm sure they will come up as you guys speak. But his attachment to recognizing IITs as world-renowned institution was very special. He always said that what IIT Delhi gave him will always be larger than what he could ever give back. Even more important, but he said that the glow that IIT creates in the lives of hardworking young people born in modest families must always remain. And he said that at its 100th anniversary, IIT Delhi must be a shining example of excellence. I know there are a few years from now for 100th anniversary, but that's how he saw. He was a patiently impatient guy that he would manage short term, but never lost track of the long term. And that's how he saw IIT at the 100th anniversary. So just a bit sadness, but a lot of celebration for a person living full life and a great legacy. And thank you for giving me the opportunity. And thanks to IIT for hosting this event. Um, Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashwani. Professor Rao, may I request you to say a few words?
Yeah. Thank you, Sanjiv. On behalf of all of us at IIT Delhi, I express grief over the loss of one of our distinguished alumni, Dr. Naren Gupta. He was a 1969 batch alumnus. And after graduating from IIT Delhi, Dr. Gupta completed his master's from the Caltech and PhD from Stanford. And as you all know, he was a stalwart in the field of global technology and entrepreneurial ecosystems, being the founder of Nexus Venture Partners, as well as various investment and software firms. Dr. Gupta was a pioneer of the Indian venture capital domain. And in addition to being he was actually a President of India gold medalist from IIT Delhi, the highest honor that a student can achieve in their BTech program. And he was also a distinguished alumni awardee from both IIT Delhi and Caltech for his notable contributions towards the society in innumerable ways. And in fact, Dr. Gupta had endowed the Naren Gupta Chair at IIT Delhi, which is continuing. And we have professors holding the Naren Gupta Chair at IIT Delhi right now. And this particular Naren Gupta Chair seeks to promote research and teaching in the departments of mechanical engineering and computer science and engineering. In fact, we met him a couple of years ago when we were all in the US, and we discussed with him at length. And in fact, some of those discussions were the reason why we came back and started the endowment fund at IIT Delhi. And in fact, he was always very supportive of the institute. And anytime we needed any advice, he was the first person we would turn to. And in fact, in the institute, anytime we needed to do something in the US, I mean, Naren Gupta's name would always figure at the top of that list. And in fact, he was the one who founded the IIT Delhi Excellence Foundation, the IIT DEF in the US, which helped the institute to receive funds from US that he did so many decades ago. In fact, IIT Delhi was one of the first institutes to have actually done that. And this demise has left a void in all our hearts, and his work is a testament of his perseverance and dedication throughout his career, which would remain eternal in the tech and business space. And he will always remain a role model for all IITians, both the current students as well as alumni. And I pray God on behalf of all of us here to give his family the strength to bear the loss. Thank you very much.
So Manoj, why don't you go next?
Dear friends of Naren Gupta and family, Ash, Vinita ji, Anika, and Serena, it's my privilege to be invited to Naren's celebration of life. I'm Manoj Goyal from IIT Roorkee. I'm on the board of Heritage Foundation, so that's how I know Vinita ji. And I'm also a board member and president of IIT Startups, a nonprofit accelerator that helps IITians who are having startup ideas accelerate their startups. I got introduced to Naren through Vinita ji, who is my senior from IIT Roorkee, at one of the Diwali parties she hosted at her home almost 25 years ago. Since then, we have kept in touch off and on socially or through the IIT alumni network. At that time, 25, 30 years ago, there was only a handful of IITians who had built companies from scratch and taken them to IPO. Both Vinita and Naren are members of that elite club. In fact, elite square club. They both built their own companies and took them both IPO separately. So Naren paved the way for IITians to dream big, to be entrepreneurial. He started Nexus India Fund to fund such companies. In fact, he funded many IIT Roorkee alumni companies. And 10 years ago in a Wall Street article, Naren had predicted, this is 10 years ago, that in few years, there will be several India-based billion-dollar startups. That prediction is coming true now. He was a visionary. And today, IITians are among the largest unicorn generators, larger than Harvard, larger than Berkeley, and a close tie with Stanford. So Naren was always generous with his time for all my referrals that I sent to Nexus, for IIT startup portfolio companies, and for me, whenever we needed inspiration. So Naren, whatever universe or whatever dimension you may have transported to, I'm sure you're paving the way for Indians to make India proud there too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manoj. It was really heartfelt, and we all feel the same way. Jishnu, may I request you to say a few words?
Thanks, Sanjiv. I will start with saying that I'm from IIT Kharagpur, but thankfully Naren didn't hold me against that. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I am Jishnu, Managing Director at Nexus Venture Partners, the venture capital firm that Naren co-founded. I am eternally grateful that I had the opportunity to work with Naren as his business partner, learn from him, and shared the office with him on a daily basis for last 14 years. On behalf of my colleagues at Nexus, I am honored to share our thoughts here. It is hard to believe that our Naren is no more, but he lives in our hearts. He profoundly touched, inspired, and changed countless lives globally for the better. I would start with saying that, how in our firm we thought of Naren, we have known Naren. Naren was 72. When he was 72, he would always act and think like he was 27. Our colleagues in 20s would say that if I am half as curious as Naren when I'm 30, when I'm 40, I would feel that I'm doing something good. That's the spirit that Naren had. And I think whoever has come in touch with Naren, close to Naren, and had the opportunity to interact with Naren felt that. After he achieved, as you all know, he achieved highest level of academic excellence at premier institutes across IIT, Caltech, Stanford. And his startup journey actually began before technology entrepreneurship was a fad in Silicon Valley. He would say that, if I remember correctly, Vinita, that, at some point when you were at your home, when you were in Atherton, there were probably like 11 Indian origin families or something at Atherton at that time. So he's really kind of paved the path in true sense for all of us to be and take the entire the Indian diaspora, IITians and a lot of other people of Indian origin to be at the entrepreneurial ecosystem as we are today. He truly paved the path. He was the first founding CEO, or definitely one of the very first founding CEOs to take a company public in United States. As an angel investor, he leveraged his company building acumen and helped promising founders realize their dreams. He wrote many fast checks. He had a stellar performance. I mean, he is known as a venture capitalist, and I'm thankful that I have been part of his that journey, which was probably his third career. But he was super successful even as an angel. Unbelievable, over a span of 10 years, the number of companies he created and the impact he had. And always he would write, he was quintessential champion of entrepreneurs and proponent of first-time entrepreneurs. For him, he would I'll tell you, when we would present our companies, we would talk about entrepreneurs' bios. He often we would say, okay, so and so from IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, like kind of glorify their pedigrees. This is not something that Naren liked at all. And Naren, it didn't matter to him what is somebody's background when they're coming in. He really, really wanted to back first-time people who have less experience, people who are not afraid to fail, who will gladly go the uncharted territory. He would push them to dream big, think beyond the obvious. Always he would remind everyone that company building journey is a marathon, not a sprint. And he would go behind every company thick and thin. I mean, we have seen countless times. Of course, we only talk about stories of companies which are glorious, which are $1 billion. But there is a path, there is a story for every entrepreneur and every company. And often what we see as the outcome that kind of seems like overnight success, it probably takes a decade and a roller coaster ride to get there, with days where there would be countless times in several so-called kind of like, shiny startups which we see today. Countless times we have seen how Naren maneuvered them through near-death situations, and how to do that. Now, I would see him like, blending the carrot and the stick in a way so effectively, where the entrepreneur truly, of course, at times they would disagree with him, and there will be healthy kind of debates, but never ever anyone in my 14 years of knowing him felt that Naren is coming from a different place. Everybody felt that Naren is coming from the right place in his heart. He truly wanted them to succeed. And this is very remarkable. And this is not just for companies whom he funded and had financial stake. It's about whoever he interacted with. And this is really, something we are super proud of. And that's the DNA we have in Nexus as well. He had, every interaction had to add value, was his opinion. He was always punctual and courteous and mindful of their time. He genuinely cared for every entrepreneur he met. He truly wanted them to succeed. He was always available. He would always say that, actually in his memorial, many people shared that he would say, I'm never busy. I'm always there. And truly, that was his mindset. Like, there will be a lot of venture capitalists here who would say, oh, okay, my 4 weeks calendar booked. Let's sync up next month, next couple of months. You will never see these things in Naren's dictionary. And despite his achievements, there was never a feeling of entitlement with Naren. He always exemplified humility after success. He would always welcome differing opinions and treat everyone with utmost respect, be it an engineer, CEO of a company, or a budding investment professional. Naren had intense intellectual curiosity and passion for life. He was an avid reader. I think, he would even now he would finish up like, every one book a week, and he would listen to audio books. He would come and, he start his day thinking of like, in his morning hike, which audio book he has heard, and, start briefing them, start summarizing them, and start talking about the principles and what he liked, what he didn't. He was actually very curious and very willing to engage in any topic on art, under the from number theory to Indian politics, from winemaking to child rearing. And he would have, all kinds of tips. When Indrani and I were expecting our firstborn, Naren gave me a tip: never try to control your kid. You will then lose whatever control you may have. So I'm keeping that in mind as I'm growing my kids. Naren wanted to experience as much of the world as he could, with a travel bucket list ranging from Jerusalem to Jodhpur, from Patagonia to Paris, from Alaska to Antarctica. Naren's zest of life was palpable in everything he would do. He would enjoy his morning hikes, or whipping up scrambled eggs and bagel with pesto sauce for breakfast, as much as he enjoyed his playing competitive bridge. His childlike laughter, bright wit, fun-loving nature endeared himself to everyone he engaged with, including his children. My 9-year-olds and 7-year-olds were two of the biggest fans of Naren uncle. We have lost a visionary, a mentor, and a dear friend. the gentle genius lives on in our hearts. Thank you, Naren, for everything.
Thank you very much, Jishnu. May I invite Professor Paul Raj to say a few words?
It's a real privilege to say a few words on Naren, whose passing has brought us together here today. I first met Naren and Vinita in the early 80s when I was a visiting researcher at Stanford University. And Naren was then a CEO of a startup called Integrated Systems, Inc., building a very complex piece of technology, actually a software toolbox for aerospace control systems design. And so Naren introduced me to his product. And actually, when I returned to India, I did some marketing for his company with the DRDO in India. Naren and I missed each other at IIT Delhi pretty narrowly. He actually graduated in 1969 from BTech on top of his class as President's Gold Medal. And I joined the institute later the same year on deputation from the Navy for a short-term PhD program. And Naren went on to Caltech for his master's and then came here to Stanford for his PhD, working with Professor Bryson, who's very well known in aerospace control systems. And Professor Bryson, by the way, is still alive. He's 97 years old and now an emeritus professor at Stanford, much like me. Naren's 1974 PhD thesis was titled fairly uncommonly in two parts. Part one was automatic transitions of a tilt rotor aircraft. And part two was entitled automatic control of a helicopter with a hanging load. To this day, these remain challenging control problems. And we must thank Naren for his work 5 decades ago. So I came back to Stanford to join the faculty in 1993. And I reconnected with Naren when I started a small semiconductor company a few years later. And Naren was, as always, very wise, a good sounding board, very generous. And, you know, as I went through the usual roller coaster of tech startups. Naren had many gifts and qualities, brilliant, of course, optimistic, always, openness, generosity of spirit, and enduring loyalty to his friends and family. Like many of us, Naren also believed in India, a prosperous India, a generous nation that remains united, democratic, pluralistic, and an inclusive society. So we all remain in awe of Naren's many contributions to society, and we miss him dearly. Nimi and I convey our deepest condolences to Vinita and the Gupta family.
Thank you very much, Professor Paul Raj. Next, may I invite Asha Jadeja to say a few words.
Vinita, Ashwini, and the family, I have to tell you that it's a matter of huge personal loss for me actually, as someone who had started respecting Naren as perhaps the top VCs, one of the top VCs we have, not only for US and India, but also somebody who had figured out what were the problems that were afflicting our tech ecosystem in India. And for the last 3 years, I have been obsessed about certain changes in the Indian regulatory system based strictly on 2 things that Naren once told me at a dining table at Thai charter member dinner that we were all at. Vinita, you were also there. This was in the Bay Area, somewhere in San Jose. We were having a dinner, and Naren mentioned to me that the whole the regulatory problem of sort of income tax kind of raids on board members was was slowing down good people from joining boards of tech companies in India, because there was no guarantee, there was no predictability about when an income tax raid might happen. And and the second was, I think, also was about the amount of control that Indian government had in the startup ecosystem. And these two things, I had been digging him for information on this. And Vinita, I don't know if you remember, but this last charter member dinner that we had in San Jose, in the Computer History Museum, if you remember, Vinita, you were there, and Naren was there looking, by the way, looking happy, healthy, and, so into the whole, into all of the, the whole charter member Thai retreat, Thai, thing that was going on that day. And once again, I sat down with him and I said, Naren, do you think any difference, has happened in the way the Indian government works with our startup boards and technology boards? And he said, there is not much change. The fight has to go on. Vinita, I want you to know that this fight is going to power me, what's going to energize me for many more years to come. And I want you to know that, that you have all the love and affection that we all have had from you guys, from you and Naren, for the last 25 years. I remember once upon a time, Rajiv and I were wide-eyed, entrepreneurs ourselves and budding VCs. And I remember, both of us coming to your home for various parties, Diwali parties, fundraisers, and so on. And, we would be just lapping up all the advice that you and Naren would give us about, what were, certain things with some NGOs and about startups and so on. And I just want you to know that we are, we are part of your family here. And, Vinita, of course, you and I have to go for lunch one of these days, but, just also want you to know that as far as Naren goes, I've been talking to even his team at Nexus. And I'd invited one young person. It wasn't Jishnu, it was somebody else. I'm forgetting his name now, but he was there about a couple of months ago. I'd invited him to lunch at Coupa Cafe in Palo Alto. And I was asking him about what all Nexus Ventures is doing. And this young man told me about how involved Naren was with every startup in the portfolio, and completely hands-on, and total believer in the fact that all of us can make a difference in, in the way the Indian startup ecosystem is evolving. And I just want you all to know that there was, that perhaps the only venture capitalist from the US who has had this level of impact on the Indian ecosystem is Naren, followed closely by Nandan Nilekani. So I'm just so grateful that we are all part of your friend circle, Vinita. And I want to extend my warmest regards to you, and I want you to know that Naren will continue to energize all of us for many, many years to come with his ideas, and grateful to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Asha. That is very kind remarks that you made. Definitely we should meet.
Thank you very much, Asha. Rajat, are you able to speak? So I'm going to say on the behalf of Rajat, Naren, Professor Paul Ryle, these are some of the people who started IIT Delhi Excellence Foundation, and I'm really so grateful, and every single IIT Delhi alum is grateful to what they have done. Next, I would like to invite Anika. Would you like to say something?
Maybe something just very short. Thank you so much for putting on this event. Of course, my relationship with my dad was as a parent, as a father. And I think in hearing all these stories and the many ways that he's touched so many people, he was always available as a dad. He was an amazing role model. I have always been so proud of his accomplishments, but seeing in the past few weeks, the breadth and depth of the many people he touched, it's truly astounding. And I know that even though he's no longer here, for the rest of my life, I'll be able to continue learning from him through the stories that all of you are telling and through everything that he shared so much, so brightly with this entire community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anika. Rajat, I have added you. You can speak now.
Well, all of you have spoken so well and so passionately about Naren in all his dimensions. He certainly was a Renaissance man, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the number of areas he tackled, the grace with which he did it. And we will, of course, always be in a great deal of debt to him for his leadership along many fronts. Let me just say a couple of things, and they are very personal. I'll start with the reverse order. I was in California about 5-6 weeks ago, and I had an opportunity. Whenever I came to California, I generally called Naren and Vinita to see if they were available for, and they both invited me graciously for lunch at their home. And I recall many such meetings with them over the years, but it was a wonderful, very casual, sitting on the lawn, solving the problems of the world, that as we all tend to do. And it was a very personal moment where I was looking at two giants of their industry, both Vinita and Naren, who have always stood by me. That's another thing I will have to say, that they were extraordinary in their loyalty and gracious support of me when I went through some very difficult times. In those times, you get to know who your real friends are, and Naren and Vinita were definitely included in that. So I was completely shocked to hear about Naren's news. Of course, it is premature, too early. He had much more to contribute, but he had already done so much that we will always be following his inspiration. I also have to say to you, the first time I met Naren, of course, I knew him when I was in IIT Delhi. He was just 2 years my senior and a legend in terms of his extraordinary academic career and excellence. When I had the idea of starting Indian School of Business, and I came to Naren and saying, this is the concept we're talking about. And he and Vinita immediately graciously said that we would like to host a fundraiser at our home for this initiative. And they were the first amongst the NRI group to contribute to ISB. They were the first, and they had been avid supporters of a number of initiatives that I've taken. So their generosity, knows no bounds. They've always been extremely supportive. Let me say by saying that there are, of course, people who leave a extraordinary mark on you, and Naren was clearly one of them. And when I was writing Vinita a short note after I heard the news, one shlok from Gita came to my mind, which I would recite as a tribute to Naren and the fact that he will be with us forever. It says, Najayate mriyate kadachin. You were never born, nor will you ever die. Najayate mriyate kadachan nayam bhutva bhavitava na bhuya. That means, not having been, will you ever cease to be. Najayate mriyate kadachan nayam bhutva bhavitava na bhuya. Ajo nityam shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. You are ancient, everlasting, always be there. You die not when your body dies. To Naren, to us, is such an inspiration. His spirit will always live with us and guide us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rajat. Next, I would like to invite Vinita ji to talk about Naren and
Thank you, Sanjiv. And I want to thank Professor Rao and the esteemed speakers for honoring Naren today. I'm Vinita, Naren's wife. To me, Naren's trademark was his optimism. His life moved forward and onward with seriousness, but also a bit of playfulness. IIT Delhi occupied a very special place in Naren's mind. But India had an important place in his heart. And I'll tell you why I think that. After his initiation in technology at IIT Delhi, he came to the US and quickly stacked up numerous achievements over a span of 35 years. He actually pivoted his career many times from one role to another, from one type of business to another, and from one discipline to another. And an aeronautics mechanical engineer became an embedded software guru, as he proclaimed himself once, and then open source software expert. These spanned over a long number of decades, and he kept keeping up with technology being the point. He was, as you all know, an early pioneer in Silicon Valley who dared to launch his own company, Integrated Systems, then acquired embedded software company and took Integrated Systems public. Little did he know that the journey had just begun for him. 23 years back, he would have a major heart attack in which we almost lost him. But he dug himself out emotionally and professionally and would start a new life with increased vigor. After 30 years of professional stint in the US, he launched himself in venture investing. His love for India, back to that, made him return back to India, launching and establishing Nexus Venture, which is now the largest cross-border fund. And I really think people like Jishnu and all are well positioned to take it to new levels. And I truly mean it, Jishnu, and I thank you for that. Many people saw Naren only as a giant with extraordinary achievements. However, I had the benefit of observing him far more closely. I saw him stomaching huge risks and his playful endurance. This did not happen overnight. Plus, he had many interests: adventure travel, skiing, whitewater rafting, and the trip to Amada Blam base camp at 13,500 feet in Nepal was my favorite. He saw the world, this is my opinion, he saw the world for what it was, but would also see through the rosy lenses, both of his camera in travels, but also in his real life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vinita ji. Well, I don't know Naren for a very long time. I knew him for, let's say, less than 2 years. The past is just a series of moments. Each one is perfect, complete. That's how I remember my moments with Naren. I remember when I met him first time at your house in the backyard, and I brought this t-shirt for him, and we both changed it. And I almost, wherever I go, I do push-ups. So I almost was about to do that, and we got a lot of funny pictures. And my only regret is for last 1.5 months, we are playing phone tags. I could never, we were planning in January, whenever he has some time, we'll go for a hike. And but those are but I have so many fond memories of talking to him and interacting with him. Ashwani, thank you very much for sharing your big brother with me. He almost became my brother for a brief period of time. I can never forget Naren's smile and zeal for life. And he really wanted to make the difference in the world. He used to tell me, Sanjiv, you're doing a thankless job, but it is crucial. And everybody tells me the same thing, Sanjiv, president of IIT Delhi Excellence Foundation is a thankless job. But someone has to do it. His big dream was, let's work and make IIT Delhi and build the best infrastructure for our next generation. And he was constantly talking about, why can't you work with the director of IIT and the professors, and we really build it. And I don't know why they don't do it. They have the brightest mind. What do we need to do that? Well, we promise as IIT, the FP team, to Naren that we will continue. We'll continue to foster innovation and entrepreneurship. That's the big dream he always have. How do we promote entrepreneurship in India? I truly believe, and he always believed, that that's the only way we can bring social equity. So, I, Vinita and everyone on the call, we talk a lot about what can we do so we live, and Naren is proud of what we do as a team. So Naren, almost become big brother and mentor to me. And I discussed with Rohit, Vinay, and several people in IIT DEF. I let them talk about what we want to do to carry his legacy. Vinay and Rohit, may I invite you to talk about our Big Brother program?
Sure. Thank you, Sanjiv. Hello, everyone. I'm a 1996 graduate of IIT Delhi and the CFO of IIT Delhi Excellence Foundation. Although I never had the opportunity to meet Naren in person, I feel inspired being part of an organization that he founded and privileged to have the opportunity to give back to IIT Delhi community. As Naren's brother Ashwini mentioned, so the program that Sanjiv is referring to is the Adopt a Student program. So this program resonates with Naren's passion for education, helping other people grow, and enabling them to realize their full potential. So in that spirit, IIT Delhi Excellence Foundation and the Endowment Fund are pleased to introduce this program. The program is the first of its kind and will extend a true helping hand as donors support deserving IIT Delhi students in a direct and personal way. They can make donations in their own name or in the honor of a loved one. Organizations and corporations can also participate in the program and invest in the future of India. Every dollar donated will be tax deductible and go directly to the students. Let me just summarize the structure of the program briefly. It'll involve a donation of $2,500 per year for the entire term of the student at IIT Delhi. This will help with tuition, books, supplies, living expenses, whatever the students need help with. But a lot more important than the financial contribution will be the responsibility to be a mentor, a buddy, or a big brother, if you will. So donors would be expected to set aside at least an hour a month to mentor students by helping them answer their questions, help them hone their skills, connect with others in their professional network, and help them figure out sort of the next step in their careers, whether they want to go for advanced studies, they're looking for the right career opportunities, or they want to be an entrepreneur. It'll really be up to the donor and the student to structure the relationship so that it's meaningful and impactful. The students who are selected in the program will be expected to make a commitment to pay it forward by either donating to the endowment fund or sponsoring a student in the future themselves when they are able to do so. And to kick off this program, we are planning to launch a social media and email campaign over the next few months, and we are aiming to sign up at least 100 donors at the outset. And I'll now invite Vinay from the Endowment Fund to talk about how the students will be selected in this program, how will the matchmaking process work with the sponsors, and share a few more details about how the program will be run.
Good evening and good morning, everyone. I'm Vinay Pipersania, an 85 batch BTech Mechanical Engineering. And it's sad to be, being introduced to everyone on this kind of an occasion. But I've been, I haven't had the privilege of having met Dr. Naren Gupta, but in my, interactions at the Endowment Fund, as well as with the team at the Excellence Foundation. Great. So as mentioned, as an alum of IIT Delhi, I think we all admire and have full respect, and we have an obligation to Dr. Gupta, because I think his career, his sort of career path, his whole sort of activities has inspired and brought a lot of credibility to us as a generation of IITs that followed him. So I think notwithstanding all his accomplishments, his humility and his down-to-earth approach, I think his willingness to help is what is leaving an immense legacy and will be greatly missed by all of us. Clearly, Naren Gupta did a lot for the world. And I think in his, we'd love to be able to carry on his spirit and guide other students and other, of our generation of IITians with that. I think as Rohit and as Sanjiv have worked on, working on going directly supporting students is a great way to maintain that kind of legacy, and this whole approach of adopting students, the spirit of adopting students as the Excellence Foundation would be a tremendous support in the advancement both of the Institute and of us IIT and the next generation of IITians. The IIT, scholarships provide an augmentation of the various programs that are done at IIT and support a larger number of students in the pursuit of their scholastic excellence. So the approach would be that the Institute has a number of criteria which are done for these scholarships. We will use that as the basis for the selection. As Rohit has mentioned, we would like to make sure that as many students are covered, not just for their tuitions, but for other expenses that they may need to, so that they can be free to focus on their studies, expenses of their board, their books, their textbooks. So the criteria would be to really look at students' requirements, understand where it is that they need support, and as they build their story and understanding of where they support, how we could match that to different supporters. And they could also be provided, like a buddy and a mentor on guidance on where their careers can be, what academic pursuits they are in, and internships or other support. Whatever it is that could be required to help the advancement, we could take that to another level. So look forward to working with the Excellence Foundation on that. It will be both a privilege as well as an honor to be able to carry out this, this approach of adopting students in the same way that Dr. Naren Gupta had supported and was always there to help anyone who had requested for it. So Rohit and Sanjiv, back to you. Thank you so much for being a partner in this whole approach, and look forward to working at the details out in the next few weeks and rolling it out as early as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vinay. Naren was a big brother for a lot of us, and I'm really grateful that I got to spend some time with him. And the floor is open. If anyone wants to add something, say something, please go ahead.
Sanjiv, may I just say one thing? He was a tremendous mentor to many people. Why wouldn't we consider actually in his remembrance to name the mentoring program you're starting for him? There could not have been a better mentor and to a large number of young people. So to keep his memory alive and to keep his shining example in front of us, I don't know what the formality has to be to done it in terms of the discussion at the Excellence Foundation or with IIT Delhi. I would very much like you to consider naming that program for him to honor him.
Thank you, Rajat. I will coordinate with the IIT Delhi and get back to you. Now we know there is a change of new director is coming, so maybe a little we have to wait. But thank you. It's a great suggestion. I would love to do it.
And count me in, to support multiple such brotherhoods or brother chairs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be nice to call it Naren Gupta Big Brother program.
Mm-hmm.
Well, may I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Well, when we had started these initiatives of reconnecting with the alumni, and they started about 5 years back when we made the first trip to the US, and Naren's role was really very, very positive. And I'm really happy to see, because I remember, Sanjiv, we had talked about this each one teach one. And this initiative which you are starting now is basically evolved from that which had been discussed on our trip to the US 2 years back. And it's really nice that this is coming, and it will have Naren's name. That is really, I think, a tribute to him. That's all. Thanks.
Actually, the idea just came from you and Professor Rao when we met last time, especially the time we spent in Chicago. I was thinking through how do we do it, and I find this is the best way to really thank Naren for all the great work he has done for IIT Delhi Excellence Foundation, and really continue his name. So floor is open. Rajan, would you like to add something? Professor Rao, Manoj, anyone? What can we do as IIT Delhi Excellence Foundation for Naren Gupta? If you have any other thoughts, ideas, Professor Paul Raj.
Also, this is going to be a long haul journey. I think we are all going to be participating in anything that extends Naren's memory and thinking amongst all of us. Will be part of this for a long time. Even if we don't come up with something today, please keep us in the loop for the long haul.
I will. Thank you, Ashwin.
Yeah.
I will definitely.
Such ideas will take time to get to their full form.
Yeah.
Like, as you said, it was a journey started some time back. Now it is, we've got an occasion to do it in a way we wanted to. And I'm sure there'll be many changes, but IIT Delhi will always be very welcome to any such proposal and to carry it the full way. That I can assure you from IIT Delhi side.
Yeah,
Having named scholarships is one thing which we can do without any issue. So that we will do. But I think something even beyond that, let's discuss that. Yeah.
Sure. I'll reach out to you, Professor Rao. Ashwani, you are saying something?
Yeah, I would like something more permanent in IIT Delhi. Because there's such congruence of spirit between IIT and Naren that you sort of can't separate the two in this process. So something that is everlasting and is a source of inspiration for young people, to be, I can say for myself, I've always wanted to be Naren, and I've always felt that if I was not as good as Naren, my life would be successful. And that, as young people come into the picture, and these are people from very average families, with highly motivated people, that they see what they can be. So something to just memorialize their spirit for eternity is something, we should try to work on in the coming months. And I would definitely support it myself.
I'll reach out to you, Ashwani, separately.
Yeah. I don't know whether there is a entrepreneurship center in IIT Delhi. There might already be one, but it's something that was near and dear to his heart, apart from mentoring young people. Maybe something to think about.
Yeah. Think through that, just brainstorm those ideas. And if you want me to be involved in it, I will spend time, as much time as is needed. But something that is very relevant, to what Naren was.
And if I could mention that it would be a pleasure to be continuing this discussion further as a part of our endowment activities, Mr. Gupta. So let me work out some discussions and we'll set that up. And thank you both Mr. Rajat Gupta and Mr. Ashwin Gupta. We owe it to Dr. Naren Gupta to do this in a more perpetual way. let's do that.
I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Vinita, Anika, and Gupta family, we are all here as IIT Delhi community or IIT community, and I'm personally really indebted. Please do let me know if there is anything I can do at the personal level. I'll be grateful. Ashwani, thank you so much for introducing me to Naren a few years ago. It's just amazing. I never had a big brother, and he's not longer there, but he's still my brother, and I have a lot of respect for him. I have learned so much in a little time with him. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing this. Thank you.